Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at the weekly metagame breakdown for the standard best of one format. This video is brought to you by Corey Steelcutter, answering that age-old question, what if I just want to play draw spells and win the game? Well, we got decks for you. But Corey Steelcutter is kind of the breakout card of the most recent set. A lot of different versions of the deck are popping up between various formats. Standard, there's like the Izzet version, there's a mono red, there's a Gruul version, there is a Jeskai version, there's a Mardu version, like with Pixie stuff. So there's a bunch of different decks in Pioneer, Modern. We're seeing a lot of that card pop up as well. So we're going to look at the best of the week. We will look at Untapped GG, what you see on the screen, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client. You can download Untapped, you track your own win rates, look at some stats. All the link is in the video description if you want to get started. And then I will paste and timestamp all these deck lists so you can jump around to your heart's content. Thanks for those who tune in just for the weekly. We hit the 17,000 sub mark. Greatly appreciated the support. Still trying to hit that 20,000 by the summer. Be a cool accomplishment by that point. So let's jump into it. We are going to look at popularity of the day first, kind of what the distribution of decks are, and then we'll look at the corresponding win rates. Right now, Izzet Prowess, as Untapped likes to call it, is at 13.4%. Mono red is the next highest at 12.3. We have mono black midrange at 7. Omni combo at 7. Auras at about 5. Orzhov life gain, which is black white Pixie variant, a little bit more self-controlling. The Esper self bounce is about 3%. And then we have Reanimator that's been popping up in the best of 3 as well at about 3%. The Pixie decks had quite a bit of drop in terms of win rate, even in terms of play rate. It was as high as 25% in early April, and it's come down to low 3s. We see the Steelcutter deck kind of pop up and join its mono red brother. So looking Diamond and Mythic rank 20, or not 28, it was updated 28 minutes ago, but we have 170,000 games played. The highest win rate deck is Mardu Aggro, which is basically Boros Auras with the Fling card in it. So Callous Sellsword is doing it in Atraxa, screws up deck names the most out of anything. Atraxa makes a 4 or 5 color. Callous Sellsword just adds black to every deck that doesn't really need it. But this deck here, you got your mouse package, you have your auras. Nothing was really changed in this one. We see some Sunbillow Verges, but aggressively slanted deck. You can race your opponent through things like Sheltered by Ghosts, make a large creature, give it evasion with Feather of Flight, Demonic Ruckus. You have protection and Shard Mage Rescue, and then you can fling it at your opponent to deal those extra points of damage. Double Strike Trample through Manifold Mouse. Our fair hero obviously deals damage when it dies as well. Moving on. So Izzet Prowess. So there's a few different versions of this deck. The core of the deck is built around Corey Steelcutter. So if you haven't seen this card, basically it has the ability Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you create a 1/1 monk with prowess, and you can attach the equipment to it, gets trample and haste. So what you're trying to do with this deck is play a bunch of cantrips, or basically cards that draw extra cards just to replace themselves. Unlike, you're not playing the mouse package, you're playing the prowess package, I would call it, Swift Spear, Slickshot Show Off, as well as Storm Chaser's Talent. Some of them will play Nowhere to Run, some will play Ren's Resolve as card advantage. This version here is playing a little bit more interaction for best one. We see Slick Sequence, another card that cares about playing 2 cards. So it's basically a shock, but if it's the second card you've cast this turn, you get to draw a card. So kind of shock with upside. See Burst Lightning, Bolt Wave to go face, your Monstrous Rage, Opt, Sleight of Hand. So a little bit fewer in terms of cantrips themselves. Flood Maw as a bounce effect for like the mirrors. Shore Up can be used to protect your Slickshot Show Off. Now, notably with Shore Up, a lot of these cards aren't great in the context that they like Hexproof in a Nowhere to Run meta is not that good, but the extra counter could potentially get things out of range. Like Swift Spear with Prowess gets big enough. Slickshot Show Off, unfortunately, would not at just 2 toughness. And then stock up the kind of engine card of the deck. You can also play the Red Adventure card that you discard your hand and draw 2 cards. Hearth Elemental, I believe its name. So it was playing like a version of this in Alchemy as well in Best of One. This This card's like nuts. You just deal so much damage out of nowhere. You do want to hands with and without Corey Steelcutter are quite dramatic. You do want to be aggressive in terms of mulliganing. You need to put pressure on early. Corey Steelcutter is the big engine card. And note, when you're playing this, you have to cast this first, and then then cast the second spell. This being cast as a second spell doesn't trigger Flurry, so keep that in mind. Moving on, we got Reanimator, 62.7%. So this deck here is a Zombify deck. Your top end is Atraxa and Valgavoth. In best of 3, some of them are using Etali. The one card that's missing in this deck that I would say should be included is Tursa. The best of 3 versions are playing Tursa in some numbers as well. Tursa helps you loot through your deck, helps you kind of get rid of these from hand, and provides a little bit more of an alternative kind of push in terms of damage. Bitter Reunions, doing that kind of in a similar sense, can haste out your big threats as well. You have Alvaros, Faithful, and Zombify as your kind of win cons, or like they're win cons in the sense that they reanimate. You have Overloader obviously to fill your graveyard. Liliana could be removal and then just kind of eat away at that. And then some cheap removal mixed into the deck as well. Multi-Collapse is another kind of removal effect. Probably wouldn't play Collapse, just play Go for the Throat or something. While this can hit Planeswalkers, there's not too many Planeswalkers in the format. And realistically, like, you have the Descend, so you can technically hit some stuff, but I think instant speed removal has a little bit more of a benefit in this format, especially against like Omni, stuff like that, just being able to interact. Mono Red Aggro, 62%. So this is your stock mouse package. Again, this is another deck that's been slowly picking up Tursas. Some of the lists are playing 1 to 2. I've seen somewhere up to 4. They play, instead of Swiss Spear in these lists, they'll play up to 4 Tursas. But this deck here, pretty stock. Your mouse package, your Screaming Nemesis, a couple Soulstone Sanctuaries on the side. Tursa allows you to get some card advantage in sense of once you have 7 cards in your graveyard, you can start casting stuff at random from it. I've been cursed with trying to get my 4th Screaming Nemesis in paper. Every time I buy lists, they have them in stock, and then by the time the buy list processes, they're out of stock. So I'm just never getting my 4th Nemesis in paper. Moving on, we got Mono Black Midrange, another deck that hasn't seen too much updates, but we're seeing a new card being played in Strategic Behavior. So this is a flexible card. This deck's pretty soft to Omni combo, but the Betrayal gives you a way to exile your opponent's graveyard. While they do get the choice to exile the creature they control, it does just regardless exile their graveyard. Sorcery, so you can't interact at instant speed, but it still is a way to kind of deal with their graveyard. A little bit more action in terms of hitting that deck. But you have your Demon combo, Unstoppable Slasher, Bloodletter, Annex is card advantage, Shelly, and then just Oops All removal to try to kill these aggressive decks in the format. We then have Dimir Dragon Mill, so 58% here. So this deck here, you have the Doomsday combo, where you cast Doomsday, exiles all cards from your opponent's library, other than the bottom 6, and yours as well, and then you basically just mill them out with the Restless Reef or Jace. Otherwise, you have Meringue River Regent. It's just a looting effect, and then it's a dragon, a 6/7 dragon for 6 that can bounce to non-land permanents its owner's hand. This one here, the Durgar Island Dragon, just taps down a creature and draws a card. So just kind of a tempo effect, looting effect, buys you a turn. And then Virtue for some life gain removal, Scavenger Regent as a sweeper. Doesn't hit any of your dragons. You're playing the Dragon Matters cards, Dispelling Exhale, which just is a scalable counterspell if you behold a dragon. Same with Caustic Exhale, it gives you some benefit, 1 mana -3/3. The Insatiable Avarice is, I think, a little ambitious in this format. Losing life to draw cards, you're probably better off playing Stock Up or even just more Meringues at that point. It's quite expensive. I would probably play more Caustic Betrayal or Caustic Exhale just in this format. Soul Guide for some graveyard hate, Outrageous Robbery, River Churn, just more ways to kind of deal with your opponent's library, get some card advantage. Deadly Cover Up as another sweeper, but interesting kind of control shell. I just think you probably want a little bit more interaction I would probably just get rid of Insatiable Avarice, play some more removal, and you should be okay. So Mono Red Aggro, I just want to show this version. This is a Corey Steelcutter version of the deck, 57%. And this one here, like I mentioned, we have Ren's Resolve, Fugitive Codebreaker is another haste threat. And then you have Bolt Wave, Bolt Lightning, Fleeting Effigy is an interesting one. So at the beginning of your end step, return this card to its owner's hand. So you just get to keep casting it over and over again, which gives you that second spell for multiple turns for the Corey Steelcutter. Sometimes you'll just run out of gas. This provides it in that sense. You have both Burst Lightning and Shock, so a bunch cheap removal, turn inside out as an additional just kind of pump effect. What you really want with these decks as much as possible, while like Monstrous Rage, obviously fantastic card, you want cards that always have targets. So stuff that like a bunch of turn inside out, a bunch of pump effects don't really do anything. Like if you think you just have maybe no play on one or just a burn spell removal, Corey Steel on 2, you don't have a creature to target. So that's something you have to kind of factor in. So I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Omni. So with the Omni deck, I will say this one's a little bit dated. It's still using the old combo line. You can basically just play, a lot of the lists now are running 2 Invasions of Arcavios. You could just play Jeskai Revelation. Jeskai Revelation is a self-contained combo now. So Jeskai Revelation basically bounces a permanent to its hand and then deals damage. You get prowess tokens. So you could just keep bouncing Invasion back to your hand and then casting Invasion, getting Jeskai Revelation out of your side or to your graveyard, and then just keep casting it over and over again. That wins you the game there. In place, they're playing just a little bit more like disruption effects, more counter spells, stuff like that. Definitely recommend 3 temporary lockdowns in this format. It's very good against Corey Steelcutter. The combo makes it a lot easier. There's a lot fewer clicks in that regard. But basically what this one's doing, you're self-milling, putting Omniscience into your graveyard. You Abuela's the Omniscience back. And then you basically just Invasion of Arcavios to your sideboard. This version has a loop where you kind of bounce everything with Season of Weaving, and then this town 2 copies of Invasion, and then you haunt the network to drain them out. You could Beseech also just for the second Invasion, this town, and then pick it up and win that way there. But the Jeskai Revelation just involves fewer clicks and fewer cards. You only need 1 copy of the Invasion instead of digging for this, which also makes it easier. Jeskai Dragons or Jeskai Control. So Shiko. Shiko is a new dragon. We have Shiko, Paragon of the Way, 5 mana, 4/5 Flying Vigilance. When it enters, you exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, you get to cast a copy without paying its mana cost. So you get some value here. You can cast Split Up over and over again, stock up, rediscover the way. This version's just got a bunch of cheap interaction, Torch Tower, Get Lost, Change the Equation is a cheap answer, Lightning Helix, No More Lies. I would honestly probably play more Helix. Against the aggressive decks, buys you more time. This one's got some graveyard hate with Conceal's Flanker. Beza for some life gain, Ill Time as a sweeper that can kind of loot, Ride's End as a cheap removal effect, and then Overlord on the top end. So this one's not like full dragons. There are some versions that are playing more density of dragons. That'll play the counter spell as well. They'll play Meringue River, whatever, River Dragon, the River Meringue, I don't even know its name. But kind of a tempo-y control deck that's playing a bunch of cool cards. Like Shiko is really cool. There's a combo with 3 Blind Mice that you make a copy of it and then exponentially it creates more copies, but it's probably a little bit too slow, all things considered. We then have Azorius Artifacts, so using United Battlefront. So this card here, you get to, it's basically collect a company for non-creature spells. What you're trying to do with this is basically Coco into like things like the Simulacrum Synthesizer, and then you just make a bunch of more tokens. You have things like Perleus Snare as removal, Braided Net as tempo, Repurposing Bay is like a Birthing Pod style effect for artifacts, so it lets you transform like your Clayfire bricks, your Fabrication Foundry, your cheap things into more copies of Synthesizer. It's kind of how you win. The World Walker Helm. 3 mana, if you create 1 or more artifact tokens instead, create those tokens plus an additional map token, create a token copy of target artifact you control. Honestly, this is kind of crap, I think. You're probably better off just playing more like Perleus Snares. Like, this is a Mythic wildcard. I wouldn't suggest using Mythics on this. I will change this. I think Pearlious Snare is actually pretty solid, just as catch-all removal. You're much better off. Like even this hover ship isn't that great. This only exiles creatures. This exiles all non-land permanents. So there's more flexibility here. So I think honestly, like cut these 4 and then just go up 2 and 2, and you're probably better off. The bay is really important. Even just getting more like Clayfire bricks, just to help you kind of get some earlier ramp could be reasonable. But don't waste mythics on this. This card's not playable. So then we have Orzhov Life Gain, Orzhov Pixie. So some of these are playing Beza instead of Archfiend. You can also look at the card Scroll Shift as a way to instant speed blink your temporary lockdown. So you're thinking, well, why do I have all these cheap spells that get stuck on their lockdown? Well, the whole point is to kind of recycle it over and over to get those ETBs. So like reusing Hopeless Nightmare over and over to just drain out your opponent. Extra removal with nowhere to run, Momentum Breaker kind of gets that effect. You win on the top end with like your Shellys, your Unholy Annex, this case Archfiend Dross, but you're just grinding them out of resources. Liliana, I was playing against this in the metagame challenge. Opponent ulted Liliana against me just because they strip you out of so many cards between Liliana and the various bounce effects and discards that it's hard to kind of keep up in that case. But Kieran and Pixie act as your bounce effects that you can reset your lockdown. Scroll Shift, like I said, is a cool card to have in these decks as well. Then have Esper Bounce. So this one here, fallen off a bit in terms of win rate, sub 55%, but similar idea. You have your bounce package, your various pieces of removal. Kieran in here is an additional bounce effect, Sheltered by Ghost. Provide some lifelink. You have your Optimistic Scavenger that can put counters, help you race your opponent. Ido, this town ain't big enough on the top end, so much lower curve on this version, but provides some utility. Obviously with your removal spells, the hands where you can go Hopeless Nightmare into Pixie Hopeless Nightmare is very strong in terms of stripping your opponent out of value. And then lastly, so this is a best 3 list, but I want to share a Mardu version of the bounce deck. So Jaffer on Twitch went 7-0 in the metagame challenge with this, but similar idea, a little bit more of the aggressive shell with the Spiteful Hexmage, which you don't also always see. Kieran also has a cool interaction with it where if you pick up the token, you get to draw a card. So you make this bigger and you get that effect. You have 8 pieces of removal. You have the Corey Steel Cutter package here. So Corey Steel Cutter can make you a bunch of tokens. Plays nicely too because you could just equip the creature, make a creature really big with Optimistic Scavenger. And with the trample, it gets around chump blocking. Fear Missing Out lets you loot. And then you have the Defiled Crypt Cadaver Lab. This card here will let you basically unlock the door. You return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. So it's another way to get some value in that sense of just picking up stuff. You can loot a creature, get it back, get some card advantage kind of value plays there. Cool version of the deck as well that I got to give a try. I have most of these cards. These are like so expensive in paper now. I got to wait till they drop a bit before picking up the copies, but sweet deck nonetheless. So let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking, what you think of this Corey Steel format. Catch you next week. Thanks for watching.